We are back from the international break, and United is going to be hosted by Newcastle at the St James's Park Stadium that has a capacity of 52,307 seaters, all people that can be accommodated to that stadium. Welcome to United Matters channel. How are you guys, and where are you watching from? I go by the names of Rock and David. Smash the like button, comment and share. If at all you're watching us for the very first time, endeavor to subscribe to this channel so as not to miss out on stories that we do upload in here on a daily. As I promised you in the morning that I'll be coming to bring you the match preview of Manchester United versus Newcastle away in UK after Erik ten Hag's press conference. I came up, reacted onto the press conference. You guys can go to the live section and really see what Ten Hag talked about the press conference, but we've gotten some good huge boosts coming in from Erik ten Hag that you guys need to know about. Rashford, Martial, Varane, Sabitzer. All those are fit to face Newcastle, and the last training session is going to be carried on, I think, tomorrow. That is Saturday, and everything is going to be really well known on who is going to travel down to Newcastle to face the team that is really fighting hard to come in through and obviously get into the Champions League. So, for Newcastle, they're having some huge boosts. St. Maxima returns. Joe Wellington returns. Calm Wilson returns also. Then Nick Pope also returns. Steve Bootman returns. Also, those are 5 players returning from injury. But Miguel Almiron is one of those that is out of this game of football between Newcastle and Manchester United. Meaning that you might find Luke Shaw or Malacia playing on the left back of United having really a very good spell there, because Miguel Almiron is another player who gives Newcastle a little bit of balance off the right wing each and every time they are playing and attacking that side. And is their top scorer this season. I think has close to 13 goals this season. So it shows you that if they are missing out on their top scorer, it's really something that you should really give a little bit of a praise, that maybe we've gonna hate to find ourselves in a surviving position, because we'd have gonna hate to hurt us more and more and more. That is Miguel Almiron, but he's out. For Manchester United, don't expect Eriksen. He's back, but too early for next weekend's game against Everton. That's when we expect him to return. He might make the bench against Everton. Then Donny van de Beek out. Though we saw him really trying to do some recoveries, and we might see him towards the end of the season also, if all goes well. And which other players out? Garnacho is out, but I think he's going to find himself in a position of returning, I think, towards the mid or the middle of this month. So he's like 2 weeks away from return. That is Alejandro Garnacho. I think those are the players that we're missing. The rest of the players are really available, apart from Casemiro, who is suspended, having a red card, and this is going to be his second ban he's serving after getting a red card against Southampton. And here we are. We cannot see him play for the next 3 games: Newcastle, Brentford, and Everton. But the beauty is that only 1 game is going to be played away, that is that of Newcastle. The remaining 2 games are going to be played at Old Trafford. I expect the team to really see itself pushing this team to the levels. Now, for Newcastle, their last game they played, they won 2-1 against Nottingham Forest, and it was Alexandra Isak scoring a brace. For us, our last Premier League game we played, it was against Southampton. We drew 0-0, and in that game, it was Casemiro where he was red-carded, and he's not eligible to play these games of football. So, that's a little bit what is happening at Manchester United. United is having 50 points. That's it. And when you look at Newcastle, they're having 47 points, and we've played the same number of games, meaning that if we want to find ourselves in a position of really showing Newcastle that these points really mean a lot and you are not coming any closer to us, we have to beat Newcastle. Why? If we don't beat them, they'll come level to us, and they'll be into the 3rd position because they have a better goal difference than Manchester United. So tomorrow, the best result we should get is a win, and the worst we should get is a draw. We shouldn't allow Newcastle to come close to us. We should maintain that 3-point difference, and if at all we beat them, we'll be having 3 points. We'll be having 6 points ahead of Newcastle, a team that is really so much good and really having some fantastic players that are really playing the game of football. So, for Erik ten Hag, he knows how hard this game is going to be, because going to a stadium where only one team has gone ahead to really beat the side known as Newcastle, it's really so much so much worrying, but Ten Hag has confirmed to us in the pre-match press conference that he has the players that can unlock that defense of Newcastle. And I think Ten Hag might treat them the way he treated them at Wembley, but we might be clinical. I think Martial's return is really so much important. The likes of Sancho resting, Fred, Varane, David De Gea, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Fred Rodriguez, Jadon Sancho, Anton Martial. I counted close to 7 players that had rested and not gone for the international break. So I think they are really ready, fit to get in this and running. And I believe we might front a very good team that can really take on a side known as Newcastle. But we need to fight. We need to fight like never before. But I know there's a lot of positivity that lots of our players are really fresh and they're really recharge their batteries. And I think in the starting 11 that I'm going to come up and really put up in the next 1 minute, that is predicted or probable from me and my team at United Matters channel, I think some players have gotten the rest that they want and they are finding themselves in a position of really being back to the levels I expect them to be. I think Marcus Rashford in the last game we played in the Premier League never scored against Liverpool, so he needs to find himself back on the score sheet, and I think he's going to go ahead and really put them to bed because he's really fresh, rested for close to 2 weeks, and I think he's back to the Marcus Rashford that we know. Now let's get into the predicted starting 11 of Manchester United as we get into this Premier League game of football. And to your information, we've gone ahead to play 29 games in between Manchester United and Newcastle. United has won 17. Newcastle has won 4 and 8 have been draws, meaning that United is having a very good upper hand ahead of this team. Now, last season, the last game we played there, it was on the 27th of December. We drew with them 1-1. Saint Maxima scored in the 7th minute and Edson Cavani leveled the game in the 71st minute, and obviously the game ended 1-1. But who were the players that started way back? Then it was David De Gea in goal, Dalot, Varane, Maguire, Telles, Fred, Scott McTominay, Bruno Fernandes, Rashford, Greenwood, and Cristiano Ronaldo. That was the starting 11 of Manchester United. Edson Cavani came in, Sancho came in, and Nemanja Matic came on through to play the beautiful game of football. But this time round, how is Erik ten Hag going to really stand or really start only starting 11? Because we might see lots of changes from the team that faced Newcastle away last season, because the constants are really few according to me. Now, let's start with the system. Obviously, it's a 4-2-3-1, 4 defenders, a double pivot, 3 attacking midfielders, and what we call a center forward that is leading the apex of the attack of Manchester United. Then we go to the demarcations on how these players are going to stand on the beautiful game of football at St. James's Park. In goal, obviously David De Gea is going to start in goal. I think Tom Heaton is injured. The other one, Botland, not even shown up for any game at Manchester United, meaning that he's really going to be really let go by Manchester United maybe in the summer, and obviously return him back to what we call Crystal Palace. Then David De Gea deserves to start, and David De Gea has gone ahead to give us a hint that he wants to start Manchester United, and he feels like this is the best time he has found himself in a position of feeling like he might end his club career at the club of Manchester United. So I believe David De Gea is starting in goal. According to me, he has saved us a lot. He has close to 10, are they 11 clean sheets for Manchester United in the Premier League? So shows you how good he has gone ahead to do the needful. And this time around, we need to find ourselves in a position of not really conceding very many goals, because we are the 3rd worst team in the league, conceding very many goals away after Leicester City, and is it Southampton or Nottingham? You get? We've conceded 27 goals away from home. That is really bad. So we need to find ourselves in a position of really keeping a clean sheet and keeping it tight at the back. Right back, people asking Dalot or Bissaka. When you look at Dalot, he played 90 minutes in the game of Portugal and playing Luxembourg. I think it's so Bruno putting an assist for Ronaldo. Bissaka has been resting at the club of Manchester United. Dalot looking like he's fighting for his position back, but I think according to what we saw at Wembley, with St. Maxima being closed down very well in the second half by Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and he had turned Dalo into an avenue in the beginning of the game. Then when Bissaka came in through, he closed him down. I think the manager is not going to do any mistake. He's starting Bissaka over over Dalo. I think Dalo might only come in through when we need to really win. That's it. But if at all we are winning, and obviously we are just requiring to defend, obviously he won't bring him on. And I think he'll start the game in the midweek against Brentford at Old Trafford. That's what I think is going to be done by Erik ten Hag. Then left back, both played for the international friendlies, for their national teams. Luke Shaw getting a red card in the game of Italy that England won 2-1, and Bissaka not, and Malacia having close to 25 minutes as Netherlands was beating, which team they beat? They beat a team by 3-0, and they played 25 minutes on the field of play. Now, I believe Luke Shaw rested because he played just 70 minutes, and I think he has been resting for some good days. I believe he's starting on the left back of Manchester United because the experience is really needed. He has just been awarded a new contract at Manchester United, and it's a 4-year contract, I think, with one more optional year for the club of Manchester United. So I think he's going to start onto the left side of the full back position of United. When we go to the central defense, obviously Lisandro Martinez playing on the left side of the central defense, and Rafael Varane is going to be playing on the right side of the central defense. I know he's fully fit. He last played a game when you're playing against Southampton. You get? Since then, he has not played any single game, meaning that he's rested for close to 3 weeks, and he has to find himself fit to play the beautiful game of football. When we go to the double pivot of Manchester United, I think the big contentious decision for Ten Hag to make is between Scott McTominay and Fred. Who is going to start in that midfield? And I think it's Scott McTominay, because you'll need a little bit of solidity into that central midfield to stop the likes of Joe Wellington, because they are back, because they're having a lot of physical attributes, plus Bruno Guimaraes. So I believe Scott McTominay will start ahead of Freddie, but I also won't be surprised if at all Freddie starts ahead of Scott McTominay. And Scott McTominay comes in through in a decent form of scoring 3 goals in 2 games for Scotland and putting a brace past Spain that saw Spain suffer their first qualifying defeat to Scotland. And Scott McTominay was into the mix. Sabitzer is expected to start in the pivot against Scott McTominay, and he's going to play that role very well. Remember also he played 1 game and scored 2 goals and created 1 assist or 1 goal in that game. In that game, they won 4-1 in Austria. So I believe that's going to be the double pivot. And I believe every time they've started together, Scott McTominay has not been looking good. But I think the manager just finds himself in a position of having a luxury of making a substitution, either to get Bruno deep into the double pivot with Sabitzer, or bring on Freddie to really carry on the game and obviously put in some tenacity into that midfield. So I believe Sabitzer being in there is all about him getting that ball from the back 4 and linking the midfield to the attack. Then Scott McTominay, his main aim is going to be doing the checkmates, all the interceptions and blocks of those intricate passes and build-ups by the team of Newcastle. Then Bruno Fernandes, this man never rests. He played very many minutes, and I think the only game he was rested was the game they played, was it against Luxembourg, where he played just 65 minutes and he rested for 25. So I think he's a little bit fresh to start for Manchester United. He's going to play there. The other contentious position is either Pelestri, Sancho, or Anthony. I believe it's going to be Anthony. Not Anthony. It's going to be Sancho starting on the right wing of Manchester United, as we talk on a side called Newcastle, because Sancho has been resting ever since we really played. And when he played against Fulham, he had a very brilliant game. The first goal, the penalty, he was involved, and that incident just saw very many players of Fulham sent off. That is Willian and Mitrovic, plus the manager Marco Silva. Now, Sancho in the second goal that Sabitzer scores releases Luke Shaw and he identified him. He identified his run towards the byline, and Luke Shaw went in for a square, and obviously Sabitzer went in for a flick that went into the back of the net to make it 2-1 for Manchester United. I believe he's going to start. He's going to start, and he's going to be playing onto the right attacking midfield of Manchester United. Then let's go to the left attacking midfield. I think this man is fully fit and is ready to get himself running and rolling. That is Marcus Rashford. I see him as a player who is really fresh and is ready to make those goals and make those assists onto the field of play. But my concern is, let him stop being selfish. He needs to think twice every time he's going in for a shot at goal when he's really in closed or tied up areas. You know, like in the game of Southampton, he had a chance to give Weghorst a cutback. He didn't, close to twice. In the game of Rio Betis, he had the same chances. In the game of Fulham, he also had a chance to release Weghorst and really went in for selfish effort after Sabitzer released him. So he needs to work onto that and stop being selfish. Who is leading the line? Martial is back or Weghorst? I believe it's going to be Weghorst starting the line. Martial will come on through because he needs to really be given minutes into his legs to really get him into the starting mode. Maybe he gets some minutes into the legs, like 20 against Newcastle, and then he starts against Brentford at Old Trafford on Wednesday. So that is my predicted starting lineup of United. But let's go a little bit into the tasks of every player. David De Gea has to really keep those clean sheets and really command that defense, give us a build-up play from the back. That's it. That's all we want from him. And commanding the back four. Bissaka, he has a very huge duty to face St. Maxima and stop him. Luke Shaw, I think, is going to be stopping Willock because Miguel Almiron is out. Then our central defense of Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane has a task to stop Alexandre Isak, because Alexandre Isak is really a great player and is really in a very high scoring form. That is Alexandre Isak for a club known as Newcastle. Then when we go to Callum Wilson, if at all is brought in, I think Isak is more deadly or deadlier than Callum Wilson. But even if Callum Wilson comes in through, it's all about us closing him down. That's it. Then Sabitzer and Scott McTominay, as you see them in the double pivot, they have a very huge job to do. Longstaff, Bruno Guimaraes, and Joe Wellington. They should stop them and obviously not see them becoming the worst nightmare to the team of Manchester United. Then Sancho has to track back and face, is it Target, the left back of Newcastle. Marcus Rashford's role is simple. Go ahead, sit down, Kylian Trippier, score those goals. You get? And obviously he has to track back to help Luke Shaw not to be exposed into those relentless attacks coming from Newcastle. Wout Weghorst, press on the front. That's it. After pressing up front, then get those chances in. You get those chances in if at all they are really delivered by Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes, I think for me, is going to be playing like a free role for the club of Manchester United because that's what he does better. So those are the roles, and we are expecting some battles. Rashford versus Kylian Trippier, Target versus Jadon Sancho, Weghorst versus Bootman, Scott McTominay versus Joe Wellington. Then I think it's going to be Bruno Fernandes tracking the moves of Bruno Guimaraes. I think that's going to be the case. So even St. Maxima versus Aaron Wan-Bissaka, it's another show that you wouldn't like to miss on as a fan if you want to watch the game of football. But it's going to be a very huge game happening at that side. But I believe we are winning that game by 2-1. 1-0 or 2-1. The worst result that we're getting is a draw. 1-0 for Manchester United or 2-1 for Manchester United is my prediction. And let's wait and see how that's going to happen, because we've gone ahead to win very many games at the St. James's Park. So allow me leave you at that, because we've had all. My prediction is 1-0 or 2-1 in favor of Manchester United, as I'm calling in for the worst result to be a draw for Manchester United. But Ten Hag is having a luxury of even bringing on Fred, Anthony off the bench. There is Facundo Pellistri, which other players? Darlow off the bench, also Malacia. So we are having a good range of squad. Anton Martial off the bench. So that's at least a squad you would love to go ahead and really play or move with when you're going to go to Newcastle, because you'll be having a lot of buttons to press every time you feel like there is a button that is not functioning well on the field of play. So may the Almighty Lord bless you abundantly. For the Muslims, for the Muslim friends, it's what we call Mubarak Karim, and I cover you all in the precious blood of Jesus Christ. And may you see tomorrow. Not tomorrow, guys. I'm having another video that's coming up late. I think I'm even going to put in more too, guys. So keep it United Matters channel. It has all been the match preview. So your predictions are welcome in the comment section below. Rokan David is my name. I'm out.